Alright, folks, so we've got an interesting story to look at here that came out. So basically, there was an article alleging that Jimmy Dore, Kim Iversen, Tim Black, and some other progressive hosts slash media figures who are online have gotten this award that granted some sort of amount of money that it gave them, and this is coming from a what's dubbed a pro-Assad group. So, firstly, I want to say that is this really a big deal or anything to be really concerned about at all? I don't think so. And do I think that they're changing their opinions? And we'll get into this in more detail later on. Do I think that they're saying their opinions because of the money that they're getting from this group? Of course not. It's a bunch of bogey, of course. But I think that there's an important point that needs to be made here. And so I'm going to go through all of the information here for you guys. A couple of people have commented about this already, as you can tell by the title. So, someone wrote an article, okay, basically explaining how, all of this went down, all these different progressive hosts, all these different progressive media figures, Jimmy Dore, as the list I gave out earlier, had gotten this Serena Shim Prize, is what it's called. Now, if we look at this article that is actually the one that basically breaks this down, it explains that it's from a group called APAC. Now, it's not the APAC that you're thinking of. It actually stands for something else. It is not. It's not the the American Israeli Political Action Committee that you're thinking of. It's actually a different one. And so under that, I guess it has this group called the Syria Solidarity Movement, and they gave out the Serena Shim Awards, which went out with prizes. And Jimmy Dore got 2.5K when he was awarded it. Kim Iversen was given $5,000 when she was given it. And so, it goes on to explain that, over here with Jimmy Dore. It says among those winners is Jimmy Dore, a comedian turned political commentator who was employed by the Young Turks, a progressive video outlet, until April 2019. According to an IRS filing, however, Dore actually began receiving money from the association behind the Serena Shim Award in 2017, receiving $2,500 for what the latter described as, quote, human rights media. So, $2,500 is peanuts, obviously. So, I don't know why on earth he would take this money, and I'll explain that later on. But if there's any sort of idea that Jimmy Dore's ideas or what he's saying is influenced by this measly peanuts of 2.5K, you're simply mistaken. That's not what he's doing. That's not what he's doing at all. And then it goes on to explain here that I guess someone reached out to TYT to ask them if they knew about this and what their thoughts were. It says, in a statement, a spokesperson for the Young Turks, founded by former MSNBC host Cenk Uygur, said the company was not aware of the payments. It appeared unperturbed by one of its former hosts taking cash from a group that lobbies for the regime, blah, blah, blah. And it says, quote, Dore was an independent contractor, the spokesperson said. We cannot obligate contractors to disclose every outside source of revenue, nor any company. I hope you're not suggesting that we demand a full financial audit of every contractor we use, because that would be patently absurd. So, it then goes on to explain that, and I never saw this, by the way. I don't know how I never saw this, but Kim Iversen posted on Instagram that she got this award. They gave her $5,000. Now, $5,000 for her is a lot more than 2.5K is at the point of what Jimmy Dore's at. Because Jimmy Dore is already huge, but still 5K is probably, most likely not going to be a decider of what you say. Most likely it's not going to be the case. Although I'll say, certainly in relativity, 5K for Kim Iversen at that point is far more, influential than 2.5K was to Jimmy Dore in 2017, obviously. So Jimmy Dore then responded to this. He responded to the tweet coming from Molly Crabapple, who's, I guess, someone who's funded by the State Department or something like that. He says, our show is making pro-foreign conflict tools nervous. And then he responds by citing a guy named Ben Norton, who's basically saying, oh, she's bankrolled by the State Department and he only got a measly 2.5K from a group who's anti-foreign conflict. And so nothing really here is sort of defending himself, it seems. It seems kind of more like, oh, like, no, look at that person where the money they're getting from is. It's not like, oh, no, the money that I took was totally within bounds of integrity and morals. And it's not really defending yourself for taking that money. It's more like, look at this person, the money that they're taking, essentially what that is. So, what's interesting is in Kyle Kulinski's video that he did, it's titled "Kamala Wants Trump Banned from Twitter." He actually jumped in on. He gave his thoughts on this. Let's go ahead and hear this out.
That's what would happen. It's happening today with Jimmy Dore. Some whatever paper, I don't even know who it is. Some website did a hit piece on Jimmy Dore where they're trying to say he was funded by the Assad regime. No, he wasn't. He had gotten some money because this is how he raises money, through Patreon, because he has a show like I have a show. And it was some anti-war group that donated to him. They're claiming that anti-war group is flat out just a representative of the Assad government that's paying him on behalf of Assad for him to go out there and push these Syria conspiracy theories. Are you kidding? As if anybody could pay Jimmy Dore to change his opinion on something. No, he's giving his actual opinion. That's his actual opinion on something. You might not like it, but it's his actual opinion, and it's certainly not brought about by corruption.
So that's his take on this situation. Now, the one thing that I agree with there is that indeed, I do not believe, and it's impossible for Jimmy Dore's opinions to be determined by 2.5K. That's literally impossible. So in no way is this funding like determining the ideology and what Jimmy Dore is saying. But Kyle gets a lot of stuff off here. First of all, when he describes like that's how you raise money through Patreon and stuff, like, nah, you don't really raise money. Typically speaking, like, independent media outlets on YouTube who are kind of getting away from that stuff don't really take these sorts of awards from these really shady groups. It's not really something that you do. The founder of this 8-pack group is actually a 9 double Uno truther, so kind of tells you what kind of people these people are anyways. But, and then he also talks about how it's kind of like, oh, he's acting as if there's like no connection or, them being pro-Assad. That is what they are. I mean, I guess that group just straight up beats with Assad all the time. And so I don't really see what he's trying to say there. It doesn't really make sense. The only point I see is that, yeah, it's not something that is a determining factor of what he's saying, obviously. I totally agree with that 100%. The rest of it I don't get. I think that my overall point in this is, no, it's not a determining factor for what he's saying, but it is incredibly dumb. Not only is it, I think, just... It's weird to even do that, to take that money. Like, if you're offered that money, especially if you're Jimmy Dore, where you have a really, big cultish fan base in the first place who's going to, fund you all you need. They'll give you all the funding you need. Why would you take a measly 2.5K to raise even a smidge of a doubt of concerns of money attachments? That's just incredibly stupid. But also, there is the principle for, like, independent media where it's like you're not supposed to take that kind of money. That's stupid. You should not be taking these shady-ass awards. And no, Kyle, that's not, like, how you raise money through, like, Patreon. Nah, Patreon's, like, your viewers support you. It's entirely different than some, essentially a lobbyist group, which is what they are, giving you money. That's incredibly, unethical and just stupid. It's dumb. I don't know why you would do that. It just baffles my mind. It's almost as baffling as Kyle's take here. I was expecting Kyle to be like, oh yeah, no, that's probably a dumb idea to take that money. It's ridiculous. But I guess that's not how he feels about this. And then David Pakman jumped in on this too. He did it in a little bit of a more sort of subliminal way. I guess not all that subliminal. I mean, he mentioned his name's in here and everything, so I guess not all that subliminal. But, he says that he titles the video, "I did not receive money from Pro-Assad group." In this, basically, he kind of says, I guess, the same kind of stuff that I'm trying to explain here. He breaks down his, funding and says he's not getting funding from there. But I think it was sort of a way to take these subliminals at Jimmy Dore and other progressive hosts who are taking the money, just without doing it like full frontal, full on. I think it was a way to do it sort of, under the, under the radar type of thing is what I think he was trying to do. But you know what? Overall, I mean, that's what I think about this whole thing. So what I would say overall is it's not something to be concerned about. I don't think Jimmy Dore is some sort of a paid shill, if you will, as he has accused others of being. Francesca Fiorini, he accused of being. I don't think that he's, influenced by measly 2.5K. I don't think he's influenced by that. But I think that it is entirely ridiculous. I also think it's a bit unethical to take that kind of money from a lobbyist group. You should be principled in refusing the money from something like that. You should be fully, viewer funded, ad revenue funded on YouTube because you have no ties to anything. Because obviously they're randomized and you have no agreements with any of the ad companies, yada yada yada. You get money on Patreon and from your viewers during your lives. That's supposed to be the principle of being a progressive host, and apparently a bunch of them took that money. So, Tim Black and Kim Iversen got twice the amount that Jimmy Dore got, and Jimmy Dore might have actually given more, or gotten more, but I guess there's no 2019 IRS filing. But I have to tell you that this is a pretty dumb move on Jimmy Dore's part. It's pretty ridiculous. It's stupid. I don't know why you would even allow the entertainment of a question like that when it's such a measly, tiny amount of money. So, anyways, that's my thoughts on this. Let me know what you guys think down below. Curious to hear them.